So my name is McKenzie and I'm attending Inver Hills to pursue my career in nursing. And I'm currently doing my prereqs, and this is one of my prereqs, is this class. What about you?
I'm Athena Zarati. This is my second year at Inver. My first year didn't do so hot, so I'm taking this class to kind of slowly get in my way into college level English. I'm going to just get my generals for now and do a veterinary technician program after.
My name is Sama, and my major is computer science. So basically, I'm taking this class for build college strategy. After this, I'm gonna jump to English 1101. Hope for the best.
Okay, I'm Hannah Larson, and I'm just doing generals right now, and I'm hoping to major in special ed and minor in adaptive.
So I am a non-traditional student, and kind of like Athena, I didn't do too hot my first little stint at college. I went up to St. Cloud for a year and a half right out of high school, and just wasn't very successful. Partied a little too much, and so after about a year and a half, I realized that I was kind of just not using it to the best of using my time or my money for the best. So I dropped out of school and went into the workforce. I was in the workforce for about 10 years in a variety of different industries and fields. And after a while, jumping around from job to job, I kind of, didn't want that for the rest of my life. So I kind of wanted to buckle down and, figure out more of my future. So I thought needing to go back to school was going to be one of the first things I wanted to get done. So I moved back to Minnesota and enrolled initially at DCTC for my first semester back at school. But after one semester there, a lot of the programs they had offered and the classes weren't aligning with what I wanted to do. So I applied at Inver Hills and was accepted here. And I just really like this school because of the location, the programs that were offered here.
Right.
So that's why I chose Inver Hills.
Perfect.
Great.
And what was your major?
My major
Inver?
is accounting.
Accounting.
Yep.
And
At Inver, I wanted to do an accounting focus,
Okay.
but I mostly just did my generals, and ended up getting my associates in arts, so just my general associate degree. But I took a lot of my initial accounting classes here that all transferred over to Augsburg, so I always had kind of a head start when I went over there.
so are you working currently then?
I'm not currently, nope, I'm
No?
just a student,
Okay.
but I did just accept a couple weeks ago a full-time job, which will start in January.
And where's that?
That is at Travelers.
Okay.
Travelers Insurance in St. Paul.
Got it. Okay. That's Hannah.
Why did you decide to choose accounting?
I chose accounting because back in high school, I had a few accounting classes and I enjoyed them. I've always just kind of enjoyed the business side of things. I enjoy numbers, maybe not math so much, but just more financial numbers. And then I knew I wanted to do something business related, and accounting is just kind of a good foundational business foundation. So that's how I led to accounting. My brother is also an accountant, and he kind of helped push me, or just kind of give me some suggestions or give me some input. We have a similar path where he's a non-traditional student too, so he was just a few years ahead of me, and kind of talking to him about, did he like his classes, how, the field, the career outlooks, and so everything just aligned. And after I took my first accounting class, I really enjoyed it, and just kind of stuck with it since.
Okay. What year did you graduate from Inver?
From Inver, technically summer of 2018, so
Okay.
2 summers ago. I had to take my last PE class during the summer.
Okay.
Those always
but-
get ya.
But basically the spring of 2018 was when I was pretty much done.
How were you successful in college?
I was successful in college by, like I mentioned, I was in the workforce for the past 10 years, so I just treated it like a job. My first years in St. Cloud, I didn't do that. I was like, I have all this freedom. I can choose to go to class or not go to class. I just all these freedoms that were really new to me, and I maybe I didn't appreciate, those little freedoms that we have. So how I approached it this time around was treated it like a job. I would block off times during the day, between 10 o'clock in the morning till 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm doing homework. Even if I don't have a class or I don't have an assignment due that day, I'm still doing homework. Another thing that I attribute to my success was I stayed up on my work. I read the chapters. The book holds a lot of useful information in there.
Oh boy.
So,
The book.
yeah, reading the book was really helpful. Reading a chapter ahead of time, or at least just reading the chapter we're working on, coming to class with questions, and at least being prepared about what we would be covering. Not going in there and it being completely a brand new subject. Also using the instructor's office hours. I think that was very helpful in learning concepts that were harder for me. And I spent a lot of time up in the math, more manageable when you approach it that way.
Time management is huge in college, and you don't really get that much experience in high school because you're kind of forced to be there.
Right.
You're not forced to be there here. They don't care if you show up; they're getting paid either way.
Right.
So.
And you don't have your parents, kind of
Yeah.
hounding you, making sure you're going to class or doing your homework. I mean, you have that
It's all
freedom
on
when
you.
you're on your own. Yeah. So,
All right.
Oh,
Yeah, it's the camera your way.
yeah. So, what made you to go to college and why?
what made me want to go to college and why? As I kind of mentioned, I was bouncing around from job to job, and I didn't find a lot of fulfillment in that. I didn't, want to do that for the rest of my life. And also, all those jobs, I didn't feel like I was really reaching my full potential. I always felt like I could be doing a little more, but a lot of times I felt that, my lack of education was something that was holding me back. So that's really why I wanted to focus on going back to school and, focusing on a specific field or topic, a specific major, and then just, really honing my skills in that field. So that's why I wanted to go back to school.
And important people who influence you?
Important people who influence me. There have been several over my life so far. Currently, right now, my wife is a huge influence for me. She's someone that is, a lot of the decisions I make now are the decisions that will benefit our family, me and her. So, she's a reason and someone that influences a lot of what I do. My parents were huge influences on me. They really set a good role model for me. A lot of my instructors that I've had have been very influential. Like I mentioned, going to office hours, so you get to know your instructors a little bit and talking with them. There have been several that have been very influential.
Oh, that's great. And what challenges did you face in college?
Some of the challenges I faced, right away, going back to school that first semester, being out of school it was probably like 8 to 10 years. I mean, that was, nerve-wracking in itself. I mean, I was used to working and not having homework and quizzes and studying and all that, so just that alone was nerve-wracking. After going to DCTC, first couple months in, kind of got the hang of things and I felt more comfortable. Another challenge was being an older, non-traditional student. I just didn't know if I would kind of fit in, as well, or feel kind of like an outsider. But that hasn't been the case at any of the schools, DCTC here or over at Augsburg right now. It hasn't been an issue at all. So I think those are some of the challenges, some that I put on myself that I didn't need to, and other challenges that were just there. But just try to stay positive and have a good mindset, and was able to overcome them.
Great.
What is something you would recommend us, to make us more successful as students?
Going back to the book. Read the book. Read the book, use office hours. Something that I think I try to remind myself too is it's not the end of the world, or this isn't the most important exam, or tomorrow is going to be another day. You're going to move on. So I mean, I sometimes overwhelm myself too much.
Right.
And I didn't, just enjoy the time where, your students, you're hanging out with your friends, or, you're with your friends all day and stuff, and appreciate those things and not be so overwhelmed about making sure you get good marks or just other pressures on you. So just enjoy things, but, know that it's not the end of the world if, something doesn't go your way, or, as long as you have a good attitude about it, you can move. And it's also not too late, I guess, to give up. I went to school after 10 years of being out of it, so I don't get unmotivated. And
Right.
So
I think at the end of the day, we're all just human, and I had to take a break to realize that if I want this, I have to buckle down and get myself together. I think it's really pressured when you get out of high school. I remember being a sophomore. They're like, "What colleges are you going to?" And I'm like,
It's
I
really
don't
pushed
know.
in high school.
So the pressure, I think, was a big thing for me, and I struggled for my first year because all my friends are going to universities, and here I am, and I think it's really big pressure, but it takes, we're all just human, and it just takes time to really buckle down, and if this is what you want at the end of the day, you got to do it.
yeah, I felt the same thing about the pressure, and even now comparing myself to some of my friends who, you know, started families, have houses, jobs, all these things.
Yeah.
You know, I kind of feel like I'm a few steps back from them, but you know, I don't need to compare myself to them.
Yeah,
I had a
right.
really good experience those past 10 years when I wasn't in school
Right.
too. So I mean, it's not the end of the world, and you know, you can just move forward, I guess, and you know,
Different paths.
yeah, different paths for
Yep.
different people, and
Yep.
yeah, don't put so much pressure on yourself just because someone does something one way. Doesn't mean you have to follow that the same way, and
Right.
Sure.
so.
One of my questions for you is, what was your proudest moment at Inver Hills? Sounds like you have a lot of proud moments.
Yeah. One that sticks out was passing my first math class. I mentioned that I liked numbers, but you know, not the math numbers, algebra.
Yeah.
I mean, that was very nerve-wracking. It was my first night class, and it was going to be my first like in-person class. So you know, it was nerve-wracking, but passing that class was a pretty proud accomplishment. And I credit a lot of that to Quinn up in the math center. I spent a lot of time up there. She was tremendously helpful, so I really appreciated her time. That was a really proud moment. Another really proud moment was being offered my first internship, which was for the field that I was going to school for. So that was really exciting to get some of that, you know, real world experience. Doing something that I was hoping to do, you know, for my future. So that was a really proud moment, was landing that position.
What were your what resources did you utilize the most on and off campus?
On campus, the Math Center.
Yep.
For sure, the Math Center. That was 100% a resource I used the most. I used a lot for like career planning, internship, resumes, all of that type of stuff. The Career Center, and also the TRIO office, and I was and still am a member of the EDGE program.
Wow.
So that was another resource that I utilized quite a bit. Outside of school, no resources really that stick out. I mean, other than like a quiet space to do my homework at. I prefer doing it at home. You know, some people like to go to the library or some, you know, a coffee shop or whatever it may be. So that was just kind of my resource, was just having my little office at home to do my homework. What do you guys like about Inver?
What do I like about Inver? I like that I like how it's set up. I like that there's a lot of options, and I really love their staff. Like, I like the advisory, like advising, they're just awesome. They're just, everybody always says hi. I see one person one day, I see them the next day, and they're saying hi to me. They want to know me, they want to get to know you, and just they make you feel comfortable. And if you're struggling, they want to help you. It's not, oh, you'll get there, or, you know,
Go talk to this person.
yeah, or
Go see
hand
the
me off to
counselor.
people,
Right.
or
They take initiative and want to help.
and they want to help you, and
There's a lot of growth here.
if they want you to
You know,
grow.
if you want to be a business in accounting this year, next year you want to be a policeman, like, they don't judge you. They, you know, like, let's get you in the classes that will help you in law enforcement. You know, they're just, I don't know, it's pretty good. It's a pretty good program.
And the one thing I like, if you email any professor, they respond to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Communication's
Yeah,
key.
the communication's
yeah.
best.
Yeah.
I think they pounded in us that we need to utilize their office hours more every time. So.
Yeah.
Lastly, I have a question. Who was your instructors? If just like roughly, like, why were those ones that stuck out? Why were they important?
I know all my math instructors. I had Mike Mrzinski, James Coles, and Amy Dahlke. Those were my three. I had Mike for 2 semesters stats and one of the math class. They were just all fantastic. I spent a lot of time in their office hours or in the math center because they were right up there. So they were all really great instructors. My financial accounting instructor, her name is slipping me right now, but she was fantastic. My managerial accounting instructor was great. All my instructors have been fantastic here. I've really enjoyed all of them. They've been all approachable. One, like you said, wanting to help out, you know, actually caring about your education and wanting you to excel. So, nothing but great things to say about the instructors.